The movie begins in 1862 in London, featuring a young girl named Amelia. She's riding in a carriage, thinking about her past, especially the moment her husband died after falling from a hot air balloon. These memories upset her and worsen her condition. Amelia's sister tries to stop her from taking a balloon ride because of her health, but Amelia insists she's fine and wants to go anyway. We meet a boy named James, a scientist aiming to break a record by reaching 23,000 feet in a hot air balloon. No one has ever flown that high before, and he plans to go with a friend. However, his friend warns him not to fly due to bad weather and dark clouds. The owner of the balloon chimes in, saying they must fly to keep people's hopes alive. James insists he will complete the task no matter what. Meanwhile, Amelia appears again, dressed beautifully and entertaining people like a performer, because that's her job as an aeronaut, the person who flies the hot air balloon. James must travel with her to achieve this big record. The crowd cheers for Amelia as she brings her dog along, despite James telling her not to. Amelia ignores him and continues to entertain the crowd. Suddenly, she spots a man in the crowd that frightens her, but she regains her composure and prepares to fly with James. They take off to the cheers of the crowd, climbing higher into the sky. While ascending, Amelia performs tricks to amuse the audience. She asks James to hold her dog, and he reluctantly agrees. When she throws the dog into the air, everyone gasps, but the dog's parachute opens, and it floats down gently, bringing applause from the crowd. James also enjoys the trick. At 1,100 feet up, James feels like a bird for the first time. Amelia tells him she wants to enjoy life as he does, and that her performances bring joy to others. James, being a scientist, doesn't understand her perspective, and Amelia playfully reminds him that the trip is happening because of her, not just his research. As they continue their journey, they pass by James's college, where his friend sees the balloon. James expresses his desire to learn to fly a balloon too, and talks about his research on predicting the weather. The crowd finds his talk useless and laughs at him. Back in the balloon, James sends messages down by pigeon about the weather, just as he mentioned earlier. Suddenly, their balloon enters dark storm clouds. Amelia sees a mysterious figure in the clouds, the same man that scared her before. James hears thunder, and then rain starts pouring. They struggle to protect their belongings as the winds pick up and the balloon begins to shake. As a strong storm hits, James gets injured and loses consciousness, while Amelia clings onto the balloon basket. Amelia was about to fall when James woke up. Without hesitating, he grabbed her and pulled her back to safety. Once she was in the basket, Amelia started throwing off sandbags, which made the balloon lighter and allowed it to rise into the sky again. They flew high above the clouds, where the weather was clear and sunny. Amelia felt happy because her efforts had paid off. They were free from danger and could finally breathe easily, enjoying their happiness. James noticed the shadow of their balloon on the clouds, and he thought it looked beautiful. He felt that life in the sky was much nicer than on Earth, where life often feels overwhelming with pointless things and rules. Overcome with exhaustion and joy, he started shouting with excitement. Amelia saw him and joined in, celebrating too, but then her thoughts turned sad as she remembered her late husband. Her sister had brought her to a party to cheer her up, where Amelia met James. He shared his dream of being a successful aeronaut, and she agreed to help him, feeling inspired by his determination. The next day, they began making their balloon, and it slowly rose toward its destination. It was a lovely sight, surrounded by butterflies, and Amelia felt a special happiness. For the first time, she spoke her husband's name, telling James how he was also an aeronaut who loved finding beauty in the clouds. Sadly, his passion led to his death. One day, Amelia visited James at his office and declined to fly with him. He felt down and went to another proud aeronaut for help. Instead of helping, the aeronaut laughed at him, saying he would never survive at high altitudes. Just then, Amelia's voice snapped him back to reality as they were climbing to 23,000 feet, breaking a world record. James was thrilled and sent news of their victory to the proud aeronaut via pigeon. While this was happening, Amelia felt the cold, strong winds and became worried, wanting to descend. But James, filled with passion, insisted they go higher instead. Amelia, frustrated, warned him that it could be dangerous. He wouldn't give up until she finally agreed. This reminded her of the time she had refused to fly with him. His friend came to talk to her, explaining how important it was for James to break the world record, which could only happen if she helped him. Realizing that both their dreams were alike, she decided to support him. Amelia was looking up at the sky when she noticed the snow on the hot air balloon. She and James had reached an altitude of 26,000 feet. The air was dry and cold winds began to blow, which affected their faces. Despite this, James started throwing heavy items from the balloon to gain altitude. Amelia tried to stop him, fearing that his actions could destroy the balloon and endanger their lives. They struggled, and James got hurt, causing his nose to bleed. Out of anger, he insulted Amelia by saying her husband was a coward, which killed him. Amelia responded by explaining what happened the day her husband died. She said that while trying to set a record, she was flying the balloon when it burst due to her mistake, and they started falling quickly. In that moment, she realized that the man she often remembered was her husband, who had sacrificed his life to save her. Because of this, she had never forgiven herself. Feeling ashamed, James agreed that they should try to descend. When Amelia pulled the rope to get the balloon down, she found it frozen and blocked with snow. She struggled to clear the blockage but couldn't. The temperature was dropping and James's condition was worsening. Amelia decided to climb the ropes to help James, risking her own safety. The ropes were icy and difficult to climb, but she managed to reach the top of the balloon. She successfully opened the top hole with her shoe, but it was so cold that she fainted and fell. After a moment, she regained consciousness and fought her way back down, eventually managing to return to the basket after a lot of hard work. When James is found unconscious, Amelia fears she might lose someone close to her. Luckily, he wakes up after fainting from not having enough oxygen, so he isn't dead. Amelia feels emotional, and tears of joy fill her eyes when she sees he's alive. Later it starts snowing, and while James collects snow to quench his thirst, their balloon descends thousands of feet. The snowfall suddenly stops, which worries Amelia. Soon, the balloon starts to separate due to ice and moisture, and James tells Amelia to climb up to the basket to observe the situation. He then goes up and cuts the rope attaching the basket to the balloon to help them, but this causes more problems. They are pushed forward by strong winds, and Amelia blames herself for the trouble. To save James, she thinks about jumping out of the balloon, but James shouts to stop her. He quickly cuts the balloon's ropes, causing the balloon to descend slowly like a parachute. They safely make it back to the ground, although they are hurt. This brave act changes their lives, as those who once teased James now stand up for him and applaud. The film ends on a hopeful note, showing them flying toward their next adventure.